Hello, gentle marketers. Welcome to the Gentle Business Revolution podcast, the show where we talk about marketing your business, but by disrupting the current hypey marketing paradigm and changing it to a gentler approach, one that's based on empathy and kindness. As always, I'm Sarah Sinacroce, I'm your host, and you know that you're in the right place if you are a heart-centered entrepreneur or change maker who is looking for a different, a better way to market your business, one that feels good and that is aligned with your values. You might also be an entrepreneur who's simply tired of the traditional marketing model and you are ready for a paradigm shift. You might also be a marketing impact pioneer, so someone who's working for an organization, for example, in a marketing department, who does business for good. If this is your first time here, welcome. You're listening to a special summer edition episode about the 7 P's of gentle marketing. If you don't know what that is, you can go over to sarahsinacroce.com/one page, the number 1 page, where you get to download my 1-page marketing plan that's based on the gentle marketing mandala. You'll get 7 emails to kind of explain and take you through the 7 P's. So today, Penny and I are back with this special series, and today we talk about the P of product. And the big theme here really is value. As gentle marketers, we want to create value for our clients. We want to do the right thing. We also talk about non-physical benefits, how a product or service makes you feel, the triple win, so a win for the planet, win for your client, and win for yourself. What the conscious client wants, and one of those things that he wants is beauty. So we talk about beauty. So I say, let's dive right in and see where we're headed with this new perception of products and services. Hello, gentle marketers. We're back with Penny Pierce. Hi, Penny. So good to see you again.
Hi.
See you or hear you if you're listening to this on the podcast. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the P of product. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'll show you the mandala again. So now we're over here. We're going more into the yang. So P is more of the yang, the doing energy, and that's what product is. And for me, product, what we talk about in the Gentle Marketing Program and what I'm writing about in the book is really this value creation. So creating something that has value and that provides value to the client, right? Not just putting something out there and getting money for it, but you actually want to be referable also. That I think that is super important to create a sustainable business, is putting something out there that people appreciate so much that they want to tell other people about it as well. And the other thing I talk about a lot in product, because it kind of goes together also with the pricing that we'll talk about later, and the profit is really this idea of the triple win. So creating something that is valuable for the client, but also maybe contributes to the planet. So not just creating stuff to make yourself richer, but creating something that also somehow helps the planet. So that's what I'm talking about in the marketing field. And now I want to go into what comes up for you, Penny, when you think about product. And again, we are doing it the same way as we always do. Old perception maybe, and new perception, and kind of going into that.
Yeah. Well, I like this orientation we're doing. It's like rethinking everything from a new perspective.
Right.
And so I like all the things you said. I think product, I think it has to be a natural extension of who you are, what you stand for, your energy, your consciousness. It's a natural overflow from that. So it has to part of the win-win-win is it has to be good for you. Not just that it sells and makes a lot of money, but that you have fun making it. You have fun doing the production on it and the design of it and all of those stages. so that it serves a sense of fun. In I think products that give you a sense of like, this is the greatest idea. This is so innovative, and I love that somebody came up with this, and it really works. There's this kind of sense of delight when you use a product, that it's useful, but it's also sort of just cool. And those are my
like
favorite
how you say that.
ones.
It's useful, but it's more than just useful, right?
Right. It's fun to use, and so, and that includes services too. We should also include services as well as just physical things.
Yeah, because with services, it can be fun to, get the service, and it can also, like, the service can be delivered in a fun way, and we can also bring the result from the service in a humorous way, in a way. So
right. Yeah, the sense of delight comes in, at least for me, when something's like just one or two angles or degrees off from the regular view. Because the regular view is always boring to me. That I want something that like sparks my mind.
Right.
A friend of mine calls it a sparkler. That everything needs a little sparkler to it.
That's true. Otherwise, it's kind of this bland vanilla thing that what I always talk about is, like, if you only give the bland vanilla service, then people are going to compare prices much more, because they can get the same thing from everybody. And so they're like, well, then I want the cheapest if it's the same, right?
Yeah.
However, yours is slightly off, slightly different, then they can only get it from you. And so they're actually willing to, it's not that they're willing to pay more, but they just don't shop around so much, because they're like, this is what I want.
That is a good point. I think part of it is like, you design it because it's something you want. You don't put the customer's needs first and say, oh, they need this. It's something that when you come upon it, it is something that makes you feel really, really good. And you get that feeling first. Then you can put that feeling into the product and market it and talk about it with that sense.
Yeah. And it's so controversial, because in the past, that's the new perception, right? In the past, they always told us, no, just focus all your attention on the customer.
Yeah.
So again, what you're saying is, like, exactly, start with yourself.
Exactly. I'm a big proponent of not having any self-sacrifice in anything we do anymore. So if you're just looking at the client and saying, what are their needs that I can fulfill, and you do it because it'll probably sell, then you're not getting a lot out of it. That can easily be a kind of situation where you sacrifice yourself to some degree.
Right.
And, so somehow it's all one thing, right? You, the client, the process, the delivery, the materializing of ideas into form. That's a really fun part, that whole creative piece, to bring that about. And I think anything that starts off the first steps of a journey with that kind of vibration will continue on typically with that kind of vibration, and it'll contain it. It's like, that is the inner energy blueprint of the form.
So people will actually kind of feel that when they look at your product or they look at your service, and they can tell that there's care, I guess, behind the product or service.
I think so. It's like when I first started writing books, I remember saying that I want every paragraph to be a jewel. I want the words to carry the energy of what I'm talking about. I want them to be living words that will totally convey an experience as well, and I just kept these Post-it notes up all over that were saying, this is it, go for this quality. And then after about a year after the first book came out, I actually got emails from people saying that's what it did for them. And I was like, wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What else from you? Because
we talked also about this idea of the non-physical benefits, and maybe that's kind of along those lines. But in a way, it's really that there's this feeling attached to the product, and it's so hard to express that, right, on a sales page or whatever. But I think that's where the storytelling is so important in marketing. We talk a lot about this storytelling now, and in the book I describe how hard it is for someone that comes from the left brain brainwashing to go into the storytelling. They've been telling us for years now, you need to tell stories, but nobody actually said how this works. And so it's really about using that creative brain, the right side of the brain, and bringing, because with stories, you organically share emotions. It's not just the features again, right? And so those are that's kind of the non-physical. People can't really describe those things, but they feel them. And so I think that's what comes up.
It's like, when there's a process of, when there's a story, the left brain distills the story down to the benefit points and features with the bullets, and just give me the basics here, but you could do the opposite thing of taking the benefit points and the features and then embroidering that into a story.
Yeah.
Use those as starting points to make a story out of that. But I think you're right. This is a blending of the left brain and the right brain, so that it's a holistic way of understanding what this product is, or an experience of the product. Because the left brain always stays separate, and it observes the product from being outside of it.
Right.
When you go more to the right brain in storytelling or imagining, you can merge with the product almost, and understand it from within.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing. Whole different thing.
Like you said, when we started, you said, this product is useful, but so the left brain says it's useful because it sees these points, but there's more to it than just the functional side of the product.
Right. Part of that is that it gives personal validation in some way.
Yeah.
Like a certain kind of clothing that you suddenly see and you think, oh, I'd like a bohemian shirt, or something, that when you wear it, you feel better about yourself, or you feel something, a certain quality in yourself,
right?
Or you have a certain kind of television or whatever, it validates something about you. And that's a very intangible thing that we should think about.
In a way, you, like you said, you recognize yourself in it, and you can imagine yourself with that service, with that product, and it becomes the service or product, you bring it on a human level in a way. It's not just something out there anymore. You're like, this could fit into my little world, right? That's what
exactly. Yes, exactly.
So I guess when we're talking about marketing a product, a service, it really is about communicating that kind of non-physical. And so maybe you can talk about that a bit. Like, again, I assume it has to do with frequency and also with communication, how we show up, all of that, right?
Right. We said in one of the previous ones that, benefits are very personal and features are very intellectual. So benefit points will allow the person to relate to it more emotionally, I think. in a way. But also, I think there is a sense that the product might even allow you to, I'm just going to turn that off so we don't have a ding-dong thing there. Okay. That renewal is another kind of thing that it keeps you from being tired, or it allows you to rest and rejuvenate, or something, or something that works so well that you don't have to mess with it to figure it out so much, that the functioning is self-evident and it's immediately graspable. Those kinds of things, that it doesn't take so much effort.
Right.
I think that's important.
When you create it, you mean?
No, when that the product or service itself should be able to do that.
Right. Yeah.
That it gives people a sense of not only delight and kind of joy and curiosity and excitement, but also like, oh, wow, this is so easy. Mm-hmm. It's not all that work I have to put into everything else. It's and that's part of why they like it. It's
because in a way, so what you're saying is that we all want, if we kind of go to the, old and new, so the new perception wants more fun.
The new perception wants more right brain and body involvement. It wants intuitive products. Right?
So it needs to be fun, needs to be easy, like you said.
And direct. Easily graspable is what I said. It's like intuition. You have direct knowing with intuition.
Yeah.
With left brain, you've got all the proof and the whys and the logic and the steps and the formulas and all this stuff. And it's like, But yeah, when you go more to the right brain and the body, you have a direct connection with an experiential reality.
Right. And so in a way, there shouldn't be all these options where I have to choose, do I want this with this or this with this? No, it's just like one or two things, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Like, when they started to reinvent women's razors for their legs, and whatever. They went to the intuitive razor was the first one, right? And it had like 3 or 4 blades, and it was like everything all contained there. And then it had a lubricating like cream or something in the thing. And it started to have everything all together. You didn't have to have different separate parts. And, it's just an example, but that kind of thinking is what people are really after. It's like, don't make me have to have too much complication anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to buy the cream separately. I just want
right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so much work. Anyway, yeah. So, and I think that part of that joy and delight, I had made a note here about that. There's a kind of positive attitude adjustment that you can be in a mood or something, and then you can work with this thing, and you feel better. It's just like suddenly, for maybe you don't even think about it, but suddenly it's just like, a sense of relief about it. Yeah. And so
this B Corp company that I just interviewed for the book last week, and they make wool slippers and shoes, footwear, and the wool is locally here from Switzerland, from sheep up in the mountains, and what she was saying is that her clients, the conscious client, they really have kind of this relationship to the shoe. It's like they look at their shoe and they go, "Aw," it's like, this is from wool here from Switzerland, and it's from these sheep that gave me so there's really this connection to the product, and yes, they are useful because they keep their feet warm, and they're probably, I don't know, not getting them wet or whatever, but what is more important to them is that they're doing a good thing by buying a locally made shoe. They're supporting the local sheep farmers. I don't know. So it's this connection to the product, and I think the service connection can be the same thing. In this case, it's this connection to the same worldview. This person, the service provider, has the same values, so I feel really aligned with that. Something like that, right?
And as we shift more into the right brain and the body and the heart, which I think are all kind of connected, and even then to the field of energy around us, which is real, and it's conscious. Everything's conscious. But when you make that shift out of the left brain into this larger, experiential reality, that is why I think we're wanting to go back to nature. We have a sense of interconnection with the earth, with animals, with plants, why we want to be healthy. We want things that are good for our body, that are good for our energy, that help us stay in a higher energy state and keep our consciousness more clear at a higher frequency level.
Right.
These are the motives of the new consciousness, and the intuition age, which I think is starting to happen.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that sustainability and recycling of materials, reusing of things in innovative new ways, that this is all part of spiritual principles, really.
So people will really pay more and more attention to that, which is not just, is it useful for me, but is it useful to the planet? How much, waste does it create? Does it help? Is it are the people who create the raw product, are they treated fairly? All of these questions, right, that have to do, especially when we're talking about products, of course, have to do with human rights, social justice, all of these bigger topics that are now much more in the air and hopefully will be even more in the future.
Yeah, and, detrimental byproducts, and all that. But then when you talk about the same principle going into services that we offer, that's where I think there's a choosing. Certainly people have to have wisdom and knowledge about what they're talking about and expertise. But they also, I think, people want them to have a kind of consciousness that involves holism, that involves compassion.
Right.
And that win-win-win. That is the place we're coming from.
Yeah. So in a way, when I'm choosing a service provider or a coach or something, I don't necessarily buy from them because they're going to deliver, a product to me, but I want them to make the right choices for themselves as well. Meaning that if I would prefer to work with someone who does, shop mindfully and chooses products without too much plastic, who recycles and, all of that. If I had the choice, I would much rather work with a person like that. And I would actually, that kind of comes over in the marketing. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Put in your worldview into your marketing, because that's essentially what I'm buying. I'm buying you. And so I'm also buying your values, because if our views, let's just say, people always shy away from talking about politics, but if our political views are completely different, doesn't mean I don't, I'm not going to judge this person, but I'd rather not work with them or get services from them, because there's not going to be this intimate conversation, right?
Right. Yeah. And trust comes
and
through
trust,
on some of those things too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so in marketing, then, you have to, again, it's like writing a book. You want your marketing copy, you want the way that you talk about things to represent those feeling states.
Yeah.
In addition to just telling, the physicalness of it all and the benefits and the features of it all.
Right. Yeah. Another thing besides words is, I think what's more important now is beauty. If I compare to things from the 10 years ago, we had these websites with loud red text.
Oh, I know. Yes.
Buy this and these
the marketeers. Call them. All right.
And that just that immediately, makes people want to leave again. So it is really, I think, people are more interested in beauty, and also maybe this connection to nature brings more of that in. Like we are liking to see a website with beautiful images of nature,
Yes.
and that kind of calms us down rather than flashing
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. I think we are so distracted with the digital stuff now, that we need more silence. We need more spaciousness. We need shorter things, right? We're not wanting to read long. I don't personally like to read those long sales, pitches that are on websites. It's like, oh, just, I wouldn't mind a little story and a little thing, but I really want to know the key thing. And then, I'll make my decision.
Right.
But I don't have the patience for it, or the bandwidth, I guess, for some of this stuff. So,
and I remember you saying when you redid your website, you really wanted to make sure that there's enough white space.
Right. I did that because I had
beauty too, right?
That's right. It's
even though it's
breathability.
Yeah.
Right. And I did write more copy because I'm a writer, and I thought, well, if I don't put it here, where are they going to find it? Nobody's going to go anywhere else. So I might as well put it here. If they don't want to read it, they won't.
Right.
So I didn't overdo it, but still, and make it nice copy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had another couple things here that I had thought of. Sometimes a product or the service can be a kind of teaching, even, like it can educate you about something or give you an aha experience. Right. And that's, I think, a really attractive thing as well. Maybe it's that it was manufactured in a different way, or it's made out of recycled, blue jeans that are made out of recycled water bottles or something like that. So I like that. And then I love the idea of generosity woven into the product and the service. Meaning, what are some forms? Giving a little bit extra, bonuses, that kind of thing. Maybe having a little bit of generosity in the price, or extra services that you're entitled to, and things like that. Yeah. That it's like when I go to a restaurant and they serve a decent sized, nice meal for a decent price, it's always full, Whereas the upscale restaurants, and they don't serve much food and it's really expensive. Yeah, I don't really want to go back once in a while.
Hungry coming out,
right? Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. How would you see generosity in woven in?
I think definitely what you said, and it kind of weaves into the pricing conversation as well. What it's funny because I just put out a podcast today about having fair pricing conversations, and can talk about it more in the pricing episode. But in a way, you want to price your product in a way, again, it has to do with the triple win. It has to feel good to you, because otherwise you end up, I also talk about in the book about my underselling burnout. So overgiving, underselling, and you just kind of feel frustrated. It's like, oh, I don't even like this work anymore because I feel like I'm constantly giving so much and I'm not getting paid fairly. And that leads to frustration. So that can actually kill your business. Like you don't want to get there. So it needs to be fair for you, for your client. And then if you can build in fairness for the planet, that's right. Amazing, right? You have like a 10% donation to your favorite charity or whatever. So that to me, would be.
It's like pay it forward. It's like the shoe people that are giving, buy one pair and we give one.
Yeah.
Exactly. And socks. I just saw an ad for that they give one pair to the homeless.
Yeah.
So pay it forward, and that's a kind of a service to others. It gets worked in there too. I think people value that now.
Yeah, and again, I think that will so help with the differentiation. You're now not just a bland vanilla brand. You're different some way, and that gets people talking, but in a good way. And it's not that you're just using it so that people talk, but it really comes from the heart as well, because you feel good giving to others.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else, or do we want to summarize the old versus new?
I thought part of how we would develop products or services is what would solve problems that others haven't noticed as problems. To think a little more deeply about, sometimes we just look at the superficial problem that's presenting. Right. But like when I do readings for people, I always, there's what they're showing to the world, but under that is something, and under that is something, and under that is maybe something. And what's down at the core? What is the real thing? And that we can actually address to get rid of all those other problems that are on the surface. You solve the
so
deeper
interesting
thing.
Yeah. And what that brings up for me is in marketing, there's this saying that we sell what people want, and then we give them what they need, right? It's what they want, and they don't always know what they need.
Right.
And it's so interesting, because if you try to sell what they need, often that's not as interesting to them. They're like, but I don't need that. I just want this, right? It's the left brain thinking that this is what I want.
Right. And it's also denial emotionally of suppressing old, woundedness and things like that.
Yeah.
But you can deal with the woundedness in very positive ways that are deeply satisfying. I call it a deep comfort. Yeah. It's that there are ways to start to tune into that and maybe make that part of your promotional copy.
Yeah.
Or something, but anyway, yeah.
No, I think it's a really interesting, I would like to share a story actually about a client who came to me for LinkedIn, right? He's like, I need more clients. Can you help me with LinkedIn? And so we talked, and it turns out he was in an agency that he just no longer enjoyed. Like he was the founder, but he was completely burnt out. He didn't have enough clients. And so when I took him on, I said, look, I'll definitely show you everything I know about LinkedIn and getting clients. But I also want to help you find joy again in your business, because clearly, what's the point in getting more clients for a business that you don't enjoy anymore? And he's like, okay, deal. Let's, find out. And yeah, it turns out that, he had to make a few decisions to kind of lower his overhead, basically, because he found himself just managing without actually doing the work that he came, or why he founded this agency. And so he had no more joy. He had just a lot of stress. So in a way, again, people don't always know what they need. They just know what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this all relates to this trend about becoming more transparent.
Yeah.
And that means clearing ourselves gradually, and people who are kind of waking up to all this new perception and the intuition age and all that have been on a path of trying to clear fear from themselves by facing things that they had suppressed and then understanding it. So as soon as you get understanding, it dissolves. It's like it does. You don't have to suppress it anymore. And every time you dissolve something like that and understand it, more of your own clarity comes through from your own higher consciousness. And then pretty soon you're clear, and you border on genius in a certain way, the more you clear yourself. So I think that transparency is an important thing that we have to start thinking about more. And I just recently saw, I was looking at different platforms for online courses, and I found one. I was just looking through it, and on one of the pages on the side, they had, these are the things we're working on for 2020. Blah, da, 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 da. If you think of any other things you would really like, let us know and we'll add them to the list. Which I thought, well, that was really personal. And I really was happy to know that, because what they were offering was real basic and really good and nicely designed, but I wanted a few more features.
Right.
But I thought, oh, that is great that they're admitting and communicating and even asking for input.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I have to say the one company that I really also enjoy being a customer for is my shopping cart. And so, they're like really traditional company in a way, but they have been in beta for, believe it or not, 3 or 4 years. So they really just want to build such a solid product, and they have their customers, all the beta customers, but they're still not going live because they're like, no, but we can even do better and do better. And so they keep upgrading it and communicating with their customers. And you don't see that very often yet, but I think that's transparency, and that will come more and more.
Right. And I think people are wanting that more. They don't want hidden things. They don't want lies.
Yeah.
They don't want misunderstanding. They want that kind of direct clarity, and they want to know who they're working with.
Yeah.
They want to be able to reach people too, not just all these articles.
They want to know who's behind the product, right? So especially if you're creating a product, they want to know, well, who's the founder, and who's making the product, who are you hiring, all of that.
Yeah. So that was the other thing that I had written down that I wanted to contribute to this.
Yeah. So again, if we compare old and new, I think we kind of said it all already, but maybe just to summarize.
Well, I think a lot of it is the old is left-brained, and that means remember that left brain always makes you feel separate from the world. It's isolated, and it's about the individuality, and taken to extremes, it becomes ego. But it always feels that here's me and there's the outside world, and we're separate. And so I have to use a lot of willpower, cleverness, manipulations, control in order to get what I want, because I don't already have it. So it's out there somewhere. And it tires you out eventually. And that's a symptom of all the old perception applied to anything. But so in doing products and so forth, that is, I'm looking outside of myself at the client, and they're over there, out there somewhere. I have to get them, and I have to find out what they need. And then I have to make them buy this, because I don't trust them, basically. So there's always this gap there in the old way, and it always uses too much effort and energy, and it creates stress. Yeah. The new way is to feel that the people are already connected to you, that everything's right there with you. The needs are evident. You're going to get the ideas easily, and you're working with energy and frequency and synchronicity, and it's win-win-win. That's the natural state. Everything supports everything else. Yeah. And if a client likes you, they'll promote you too, or, so it becomes so easy then in the new way.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I would summarize, I would say the product or service needs to be easy for you, for them. It should be also fun. Otherwise, why do it? Have fun creating it, have fun offering it, make it fun for the client also to use, and beauty, make it beautiful. Really, that's how the emotions are getting triggered. If it's a product or service that is somehow different, somehow beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's why Apple really succeeded, when it first started up. It really did deliver on all those levels.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thanks so much.
Good. This was a fun one.
With the next conversation, I think we'll probably tackle pricing. I think that will fit in nicely.
Okay.
So,
all right.
See you again.
Good. See you soon.
Bye. All right. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as well. We have 2 more P's for you. So next week we'll speak about the P for pricing. Always interesting to talk about pricing because it has to do with money, and there's a lot of emotional baggage attached to money as well as the ego. So I think if you found today's episode interesting, make sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app if you haven't already. And if you have, a big thank you. And why not share this episode with someone if it resonated? And also, if you missed any of the previous episodes about any of the other P's, go back and listen to those as well. I'm kind of preparing a page with the downloads and also the videos, because we did also record videos. So I'm preparing a page that I will share on the last P so that you can go back to it and maybe re-listen to it again, or watch it if you prefer that. But right now I don't have that ready yet. So just go back into your podcasting app and search for the previous episode. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And this Friday, I also have a regular episode for you about the P of promotion. And this time I talked to Dolores Hirschman, who is going to talk to us about speaking on stage, specifically TED Talks. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Speak to you soon.